Okay, how's this? I'm waiting to see. Yes, okay, good. Right, okay, so going to go back to the start. So, hello everybody and welcome to On the Case, and today I'm on the case of Donald Trump. Specifically the question is, what's wrong with Donald Trump? Well, there's lots of things wrong with Donald Trump, but one of the questions that's sort of going around at the moment is he worse than he was before? And I don't think so. I'm not entirely sure of that. I'm sort of like definitely on the fence, to say the least. I don't really think he's gotten worse. I think he's the same as he's always been. I think he's just severely rattled. He's rattled that, before when he was going against Biden, he felt it was an easy win. Now he's the one that's being labelled as an elderly man in cognitive decline. Now he's got some real competition, and that makes him angry. And the worst failing of his character is display for all to see. Recently he said he thought it was illegal for Kamala Harris to become the Democratic presidential nominee without any voting within the party. They can do that. It's within their rules. And so, the worst failings of his characters are there to see. This is the crucial point. This point I'm going to make now is the most crucial point. Trump does not have the ability to control that conscious decision making you make between the thought that comes into your mind and actually saying it. He has faulty mouth breaks. He has no sense of behavioural inhibition. And it kind of reminds me, and I know it's going to sound like a weird segue, which Trump would call the weave, but it kind of reminds me of Michael Jackson. Now, there's people who think he was a paedophile and stuff like that. Personally, I don't think that's the case. I think he had problems, that he was famous as a child and he didn't have a childhood. And so what happens is he's now, later in his life he's got money, and but with money often come people who only seem to like you because you've got money, because they can get something out of you. And so, but he didn't have handlers. He didn't have someone to handle him. It's like I almost wanted to be his friend, to sort of say, look, Michael, this is not a good thing to do. This is not, a good plan. So, for example, like I say, he's got a group of people around him, but they seem to like him for his money. And so, but the only people that aren't like that are children, because they haven't got that sense of duplicity yet. It's something you learn later, if you're, because, kids don't understand what money is really about until they get older. £1,000 would be how much it costs for a car, because they think his car's big, and this is how much money you get for small things. So it's that kind of mental thinking. And so, so when he's having sleepovers with kids, I don't think it was sexual. I just thought it was him trying to be a kid, to basically, revive your childhood in the similar kind of way you get people who buy their old toys back and they get a collection of Lego or something like that, And so he thought, yeah, I could just have sleepovers. It's not sexual. I'm not doing anything wrong here. But the thing about it is, even though, assuming that this is the situation, of course, even though he wasn't doing anything wrong in a physical sense, it's like, but that's not what you should do. That he didn't have a friend to sort of nudge him and say, look, Mikey, this is not a good idea. This is a bad idea. Think of what other people might think. And so that was, in the same way as Michael Jackson didn't have that sort of sense of behavioural inhibition for himself, Trump is similar. So, but Trump's worse than that though, because his disinhibition is malignant to a core. to his core. He's a narcissist. He can't see beyond what he thinks or sees or feels. He has no interest in facts or other people's perspective. He hates the idea of being educated away from what he believes to be true. He is led by his gut. In his business world, he is the boss. He is the central figure. Everything around him and what he says goes. Everything revolves around him, and what he says goes. And during his presidency, he projected that same style, but instead of a business, in his mind, he was in charge of the whole country, and what he says goes. The fact that there's three branches of the government, the executive presidency element, which he was leading, the judiciary and the legislative, that doesn't matter to him. To Trump's mind, he's the equivalent of a king. The president is the most powerful man in the country, and he can just make things happen. And there's a thing like I've got a friend who organised an event, and she felt it was going really badly, and because she'd never done it before, and so it's like things aren't happening the way I thought it would, and because maybe they'd seen someone do it before, so Trump had seen presidents do these things, and things had gone fine, but so he thought, well, it should just happen the same way for him. And so, like I say, he in Trump's mind, he's the equivalent of a king, but during his presidency, we were fortunate that he surrounded himself with people to run departments, but unlike Trump, they had a sense of social inhibition, with a thought towards the possible consequences. So, excuse me, I just need a quick drink. Excuse me. Sorry about that. So, if he wins the election, there's going to be no handlers, because he has people vetting possible administration appointees with the goal of finding people that will pledge loyalty to Trump, not the Constitution. It reminds me of creationist science organisations who must sign a pledge that evolution isn't true, no matter where the facts lead them. In fact, it'd be worse than that, because you only have to look at that Project 2025 scheme to see how they're going to use Trump as a figurehead to reshape the federal government into a right-wing authoritarian Christian nationalist state, replacing government employees with political appointees that are Trump loyalists. I'm not going to focus on Project 2025, that's a topic of its own. I'm focusing on what's wrong with Trump. The reason I mention Project 2025 is because Trump is a transactional person. And not just in regards to money. He will happily endorse someone because they say they like him. Although giving him or his campaign money will grease the wheels more effectively if there's money involved. Look at Elon Musk. A year ago, Trump was anti-electric car. But when Musk started giving him campaign money and saying nice things about him, now he's fine with electric vehicles. And he's hinted that Musk will get a presidential job in a potential second Trump presidency, because that's your reward for liking me. And he was the same, and he works the same with foreign leaders. Why does he like strongman leaders? Because he wants to be a strongman himself. If Putin likes Trump, Trump likes Putin. If someone doesn't like Trump, he hates them. But it doesn't take long to see, to look at him and listen to him and see that he's not a details man. Kind of reminds me of Hitler. Now, I'm not going to say he's like Hitler, that's just like, that's the, what's it called, Godwin's Law. So, now, there's a thing in history of when, historians that study Nazism, about whether Hitler was the master of the Third Reich or a weak dictator. So, the idea of the master of the Third Reich is he is the man that is, controlling the puppets, to make things happen, or he's a weak dictator. And I go towards the latter. So if you look at what happened, so you've got Hitler going to try to be chancellor. So there was a process of, so he wins the election, and he really enjoyed the campaigning. He enjoyed the political campaigning. He enjoyed, giving fiery speeches that would get people motivated and cheering his name and so on. That made him feel good. You seen any parallels here? So, but once he'd won the election, he didn't enjoy the administration element of it. He would go to bed at 3 or 4 in the morning, get up around 10ish, have a long sort of breakfast kind of thing, and then he'd sort of grab a few hours of administrational stuff where he'd give vague ideas, and then his subordinates, whether it's Goering or Goebbels or etc., they would try to put in what this vague idea that that Hitler gave. One of the things that would really get him fired up was something radical. That the jet planes and missiles and things like that. That was like, wow, that's so radical. Let's do that. That'll put us at the top, kind of thing. And money and what resources were squandered for that. But so to go back to Trump, you see a similar thing. Months after Trump became president, he started doing rallies for 2020. Why? Because being president is bloody hard work with long hours. You only have to look at Obama, how his hair went from black to greying, and that was only in 8 years. Because you get up early in the morning, and you've got all this pressure on you to do the right thing, to make the right judgments, to handle the economy, to do I start a war? Do I continue a war? Do I end a war? Do I do retaliation? All these sorts of things. This is all hard work. Now, if you look at Trump, there was negative press about his administration, and so he calls them fake news because they're saying something he doesn't want to be true. Because again, Trump is one of these people. He doesn't care about what is true. He only cares about what he wants to be true. So this idea of the press saying you're doing a bad job, well, how dare you? So what does he do? He starts doing campaigns, because when you've got all these messages coming in saying you're doing a bad job, it can really hit you quite hard. So what is he doing? He's now what did he do? He went and started campaigns, because then he can have a big stadium full of people that are shouting his name, and it's just an ego thing. It's an ego boost to stop him from feeling like he wasn't doing a very good job. So, what we've got now is Donald Trump that is rattled, that he has real competition, and all the things that are going on. Why is he not giving as many rallies? Well, probably because he hasn't got any money, because the Republicans are paying his legal bills. So the whole thing that's going on right now, I like I say, I just don't think he's got worse. I think he's the same. He's just coming out with more stuff because he's more rattled. I mean, he's always slurred his speech and things like that. It's something that he did back when he was president. So it's nothing new. He just, I don't think he's got it in him. I don't think he wants to be president. He needs to be president so he doesn't go to jail. I think that's the primary thing about it. So, like I say, that's basically what I wanted to tell you. I just wanted to give an idea of what I think, is wrong with Donald Trump. He's just, he's a narcissist. He needs to be loved, and if you don't love him, then you're the enemy. That whole, they're the enemy of the people thing. It kind of reminds me of, he had people saying, no, he's not talking about Americans. And and it reminds me of something that happened when he was running for president first time, and he would say something outlandish, and then Kellyanne Conway would say something to try and say no, that's not what he means. He means this, that kind of thing, in the the morning breakfast sort of things, and then later on in the day, someone sticks a microphone and a camera at Trump and says, "Did you really mean what you said, about so and so?" And he's like, "Yeah, I did." So effectively, the people handling him were like maids. That he'd go trumping crap all through the muddy feet all through the house, and they would have to spend all day trying to mop it up and clean it up after him. And then he would then just tread the crap through the house again by saying, "Yes, that's exactly what I meant." So, I just see the same things going on. He's just more irritated. He's angry because he has real competition. Competition can bring out the best in people, but it can also bring out the worst in people. And while it was Biden, it was easy for him because he could just say, "Oh, he's just an old man. Look at how he's slow in his speech, and he's obviously losing it." And it was a fair criticism. And now people are saying the same thing, and he can't handle it. And so the viciousness comes out, and this is where we are. So I'm worried for the US. If Trump becomes president, I think it's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be a nightmare for trans people, because the Project 2025 people want to stop that from happening. It's going to be pretty awful. That is assuming the Project 2025 thing can happen. It depends. They need to suck up to him a lot, because of course that's what Donald Trump thrives on the most. So that's basically it. I'm starting to ramble now. I don't have a script for this. All I have is some general lines to sort of give me a track to follow. I kind of do my own weave, but at least I try to sort of sound like I'm making a sense. Anyway, so thank you very much for watching. I hope everyone's doing fine. And enjoy the rest of your evening if you're still awake at 1:15 in the morning. So goodbye everybody, and enjoy your day.